The Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, is proposing a policy shift in the criteria for adopting a single currency among African countries, suggesting interconnected payment platforms rather than focusing solely on macroeconomic stability across the continent. There is more in the following report.
Members of the African Union have long aimed for a single currency to boost trade and economic cooperation, but progress has stalled. African leaders have focused on macroeconomic stability as a key factor for a common currency. Vice President Dr. Bawumia highlighted the consistently low levels of intra-African trade, with imports averaging 13% and exports averaging 20% over the last 7 years. He argued that Africa's inability to meet the economic convergence criteria for a common currency shows that a seamless payment regime can only be achieved through financial interoperability systems. He made these comments as the guest speaker at the opening of the Continental Mobile Interoperability Symposium organized by the Africa Prosperity Network in Accra.
We've not had a situation where all our countries have been able to consistently achieve the key convergence criteria, whether you are talking of inflation or the deficit or the reserves or exchange rate depreciation. It has been difficult. If we are serious about it, we can work towards mobile money interoperability at the continental stage. And therefore, we should move away in this regard from the macroeconomic convergence criteria to digital payments convergence criteria. This is where the West African Monetary Zone, WAMI, and all of those institutions that we have set up should start thinking about.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, on his part, acknowledged that a harmonized regulatory framework and partnerships among players in the digital space remain pivotal to achieving broad financial sector inclusion and intertrade in Africa.
More positive note, the foundational elements necessary to implement this idea of cross-border payment interoperability are partly in place in some African countries. These include the regulatory sandbox programs, the progressive regulatory frameworks, and the dynamic fintech sector, eager for growth opportunities. However, what may be lacking is collaboration among stakeholders. Effective collaboration between regulators, financial institutions, mobile money operators, fintech innovators, and other stakeholders is crucial to addressing technical challenges, to ensure regulatory compliance, build trust, and drive the scalability and sustainability of cross-border mobile money and other interoperable initiatives.
Organizers believe the symposium will set the tone for industry players to commit to these efforts.
Imagine what it will mean for a young Ghanaian tailor whose clothes on Instagram can be bought by consumers in Zimbabwe using Zimbabwean dollars, not US dollars, from their Econet mobile wallet, and this tailor in Tamale receiving payment in cedis. The technology to make that happen is before us. Above all, we need a political will of African leaders, the courage and commitment of our central bank governors to make cross-border interoperability happen. This symposium is to look at how we can make that happen and at the shortest possible time.
The Continental Mobile Interoperability Symposium was held under the theme Scaling Up Interoperability Using Mobile Money to Buy and Sell. With the business landscape becoming increasingly digital and interconnected, the ability of African businesses to trade effectively is now more and more critical. Interoperability is no longer a luxury, but a pivot for trade partners who want to remain scalable in the fast-changing technological environment. These have been the conversations at the Continental Interoperability Symposium by the Africa Prosperity Network. Stakeholders believe it's time to end the talk shop and move to more actionable plans for Africa to realize its full transformative potential. My name is Ni Lati Lati for CNR Business.